In this video, we are going to talk about what the hell happened and the embarrassment for Yankees fans. And first of all, Yankees fans, you absolutely should be mortified by this. Yes, I realize that your team was 50-22 on the 15th of June, and in just over a month, your team doubled its loss total while adding only 10 more wins to now be at 60-44. Yes, I realize that the Mets are one of the hottest teams in baseball, probably the second hottest team right now behind the Houston Astros, as the Mets were 24-35, but after the end of the 2nd of June, and have since went to 53-48, which is their most games over 500 all season. So yes, I realize the Yankees are a slumping team and the Mets are a team with huge momentum. But to go 0-4 against them, and in a fashion that you did, is absolutely humiliating. And Yankees fans, if any of you watch this video, because for some reason none of my videos got watched in the last month, I've gained no subscribers. I've finally reached a month where I haven't lost any subscribers, but like I'm getting no views, no watch hours, no subscribers. I might call it, with the YouTube experiment here, if everything is going to be that I do is going to be a failure. But Yankees fans, you really should be embarrassed by this. Because here's the thing. Coming into the first series, the Yankees lost the series to the Red Sox and they lost the series to the Orioles. But you were still like a good team, I thought. I thought you were still a pretty respectable team. I mean, you were 15-22, and I mean, like, yeah, I get it, you slumped, but you still came into that game, into that like, I think, like, if my math is correct, like 54-26. You still came into that game like 54-26, I want to say. Something like that. And the Mets came into that 37-39. I mean, like, I get it. They split with the D-backs. They swept the Nationals, who at that time were pretty good. Now they've fallen off a cliff completely. They then split with the Phillies in London, beat the Marlins, swept the Padres, beat the Texas Rangers in a series, and just got a huge series win against the Chicago Cubs. But considering that Edwin Diaz was out and we had no relievers, which we were forced into a save situation on the 25th, by the way, I mean, it's just embarrassing. Because the Yankees fell behind 9-1 on the game on the 25th. Now you might be wondering, how is the final score 9-7? How did the Yankees almost come back? Well, the Mets loaded the bases with 2 outs and Aaron Judge was up. There was actually a lot of debate as to whether or not you intentionally walk Aaron Judge. And I was fine not intentionally walking him because if you intentionally walk him with bases loaded, it's 9-4. And now if there's a grand slam, it's now 9-8. So you intentionally walk him when there's no one on base and it's 2 outs, but you don't intentionally walk him in that spot. But then again, with an 0-2 count, you don't throw a meatball right down the middle to him and make it 9-7. Like that was stupid. That was unbelievably stupid, and you just allowed a grand slam because you loaded the bases. And forced the Mets bullpen to save day, which if anyone knows anything about the Mets bullpen, it's not good. The Mets bullpen is what collapses on them. The Mets bullpen would cost them, of the next 5 games they lost after the series, they go into a 3-5 slump. The Mets bullpen single-handedly cost them 4 of those games. Or single-handedly 3 and cost them 4. Like, it was embarrassing. The Mets' great offense is to some extent being wasted on a horrible bullpen. But that was that, and again, at first you might just think it's a fluke and whatnot. And then on the 26th, in a game that was affected by a rain delay, courtesy of some thunderstorms nearby, the Yankees were behind 4-0 at the rain delay and lost 12-2. Again, that was the pathetic performance that the Yankees put up in the Subway Series. It was embarrassing. It absolutely was an embarrassment to the MLB and to the Yankees. And the Yankees would continue their free fall. They split with the Blue Jays. They got swept by the Cincinnati Reds. They lost a series to the Boston Red Sox. I mean, they did rebound by beating the Orioles in the series, but still. Whereas for the Mets, yes, they did take a bad series loss to the Astros. They began to slump as they split with the Nationals and split with the Pittsburgh Pirates, even though the Pittsburgh Pirates are actually doing pretty well right now. That being said, with that being said, they then were able to sweep the Nationals and take 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. Coming into this series, they both came off of splits with teams in Florida. Mets split with the Marlins, Yankees split with the Rays. Now, obviously, the Rays are a team that's slightly above 500 and there's a realistic shot to make the playoffs. The Mets getting splitting with the Marlins was embarrassing. But the Mets came into the series, into Yankee Stadium, and we came there and embarrassed you. The Yankees came into the series at 60-42. The Mets, 51-48. Now, I'm not saying 51-48 is bad, and the Mets were in a playoff spot. But still, the Yankees are fighting for the number 1 seed potentially, and you really want to prove that you're out of the slump. And in the first game, the Yankees lose 3-2. Yankees have a perfect game through the first 2 innings. Then they eventually allow walks and hits, and eventually they allow the bases to be loaded. And then they hit Lindor, and it's 1-0. I mean, they strand the bases. They also strand the bases in the 8th without allowing a run. But Jeff McNeil did hit a 2-run homer in the 6th. So, and even though the Yankees, yes, they got a run, they couldn't do it when it mattered most. Diekman was forced into a save situation for the Mets. Now, if you know anything about Diekman sucks. He allows home runs almost every single time he's on the plate. Diekman is a horrible reliever. Absolutely horrible. Even though we did successfully use him on a save situation on June 22nd June 23rd against the Cubs. Even though we used him in a save situation on June 23rd against the Cubs, and he didn't allow a run, he's still horrible. And Aaron Judge was up. And because Juan Soto was already walked, although not intentionally, Carlos Mendoza decided not to intentionally walk Aaron Judge. Now, this is a very high-risk, high-reward play. This is very high-risk, high-reward. You had a guy on base and 1 out. And it was 3-2. So if Aaron Judge hits a home run, this game is over. And if he hits a long enough shot, you can pretty much make it so that you're forced into extra innings regardless. It takes a lot to get Aaron Judge out. I mean, he's not clutch, but he's still one of the best hitters in baseball. You are rolling the dice. This is like, game on. This is like, in a situation where it's maybe not game on the line, but it's the 4th quarter, and you're facing 4th and 18 in the NFL, or a 4th and goal from the 18, and you're down by 5, and there's about 3.5 minutes left. You can go for it and try to take the lead. You can do that. You can go for it and try to take the lead. You absolutely can do that. But it's a very risky play. Maybe not 4th and 18. Maybe more like 4th and 10. 4th and goal at the 10-yard line. Or you could kick the field goal and have to get a defensive stop. And then have to do it again. Down by 2. Again, with 3.5 minutes left, I'd say there's enough time that you could get another quality possession. But again, that's neither here nor there. Now, the Mets decide to face Judge, and Diekman struck him out looking. An embarrassment. And the next out is a ground out to first base. So again, another out by the Mets. The Mets hold on to win 3-2. And another game, the Yankees went 2 2/3 innings of a perfect game. Basically, they didn't allow, the first 8 batters up to get a base. Lindor down, Nimmo down, Martinez down, Alonso down, Vientos down, McNeil down, Glacius down. I'm pretty sure Glacius played. and down with Alvarez. And Tyrone Taylor hit a home run to tie the game up. Did the Yankees eventually hit a 443 home run shot? Yes, they absolutely did, and took a 2-1 lead. But Pete Alonso then banged the 2-1 homer to make it 3-2. Lindor, another 2-1 homer, 5-2. 6-2 off of another Tyrone Taylor single. In the 8th inning, we have what I like to call the Bronx Massacre. Because what happened in this inning, the Mets came into it 6-2 with a realistic chance of blowing the game. While the Yankees, they had a meltdown. That inning ended 12-2. And it could have been worse. The Mets could have easily have made it 15-2, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. It could have been a 15-2 inning. Because Mark Vientos dings another home run out, 7-2. Then another run is driven in, and it's 8-2. Not sure how that run was driven in. Then Lindor hits a 3-run moonshot to make it an 11-2 inning. Mark Vientos gets a sacrifice fly to make it 12-2. And that could have been a grand slam had the wind been a little bit better. That could have been a grand slam, 15-2. Jeff McNeil flew out to right center. Again, wind direction's a little better. That could have been a home run. That legitimately could have been a home run. And it could have probably been 14-2 if the guy couldn't catch it. If the guy couldn't catch it, which that was a low probability catch. And I think the reason why the Yankees didn't post down their highlights is because, why would you celebrate? Why would you celebrate that at that point? You're down 12-2. There's nothing to celebrate. Yes, the Yankees scored a run in the 9th inning to make it 12-3 because Adrian Houser sucks and the Mets couldn't hold off forever. But it was a very ugly game and it was a massacre for the Yankees. So what do I think is next? I think for the Mets, they truly are at a crossroads. I feel like the Mets can make a deep run in the playoffs. I legitimately feel like they can make a deep run in the playoffs. But they have to not be the Mets. They have to show that the 2024 New York Mets are something different and that they're not going to choke. Because they're 53-48 right now. 53-48, isn't bad. If they win the next two games at 55-48, that's where the 2021 New York Mets were at, though. And they finished 77-85. So the Mets have to prove that the Mets, if they buy the deadline, they have to prove that they can be sustainable down the stretch. I feel like Carlos Mendoza, as bad as he is at in-game management, has at least changed the culture around for the Mets. He's at least made them a more competitive team. He's at least put energy into the team. And this is helped, of course, by Francisco Lindor as well. But he's putting energy into this team. He's not like Buck Schwartzer. Yes, Buck puts out better lineups and makes better in-game decisions. But Carlos Mendoza changes the culture around. And as a result, unless the Mets go in an all-out collapse like May, even if they don't make the playoffs in a catastrophic circumstance, I'll be upset. But I probably won't be calling for Carlos Mendoza's head. Because he's at least changed the culture around for the Mets. And again, I feel like the Mets, if they can get into the playoffs and stay healthy, they could be a real threat to other teams in October. Again, am I saying that the Mets are going to win the World Series? Absolutely not. Their chances of winning the World Series are still low. But I think that they have a more realistic shot of winning the World Series than the Yankees, who have just slumped down the stretch, need to fire Aaron Boone, and again, they just, keep getting embarrassed in every single game that they play. Again, I'm not saying that the Mets are necessarily better than the Yankees, although the head-to-head matchup certainly they do. And yes, I will say the Yankees are suffering an injury to Anthony Rizzo. That being said, when the Mets were slumping, they had a big injury to Francisco Alvarez, which was much more significant considering what the Mets looked like with him and without him. The Mets were 12-8 when he went down, and then they fell to 24-35. Granted, they got Luis Torrens when their record was 23-33, and that obviously helped a little bit because Torrens is still a good catcher, even if he's not as good as Alvarez. But Alvarez comes back and his team is just overpowered. And we don't have to rely on shitty catchers like Nido anymore. We actually have two reliable, playoff-worthy catchers. again, am I saying that everything is good? No. Brandon Nimmo, he's become a bum. And I'm glad he has an off day today. But then again, Jeff McNeil has finally become a sustainable option for the Mets again. He's finally hitting. He's hitting home runs. He's getting RBIs. Jeff McNeil is actually doing stuff. And the Mets have found some hidden gems that, yes, could go into slumps, but there's enough players that are relatively sustainable that even when one player goes into a slump, another player just steps up. And that's why I think this Mets team can make a run at it.